This diary came out a few weeks ago, but I took my PC to be upgraded a day or two after the first Berserker Kazan demo impressions, so it took until now for me to talk about the first Prehistoric Kingdom dev diary for 2025. You better sit tight, it's a doozy. This is the first and most important part of the diary in my opinion. The Prehistoric Kingdom team has set up a Patreon. A niche indie game in early access will never generate the funds needed to keep the project going. Since it's still in early access, some people might want to wait until the full release before buying because they don't want to deal with bugs and missing features. This is understandable. However, the devs still need to pay the dozen or so people working on this game, so they've turned to Patreon. This is why I always remind people to be realistic with their expectations in the diaries. It's not because I doubt their talent, but because the team is so small. Console ports are not happening, not because the PC is better. It's not happening because the team doesn't have the manpower or the money. This is a passion project by a small and dedicated team, but they still need to be able to afford food and basic necessities of life. Quote, "We currently have an active team of around a dozen people all in different roles, with some of our core members voluntarily taking staggered or reduced pay to keep us moving forward. This isn't sustainable, and this is why we're looking to Patreon." End quote. Game development is only going to get more expensive and the team needs our help. I'm going to link to their Patreon in the description box below. When you see what they're working on in this update, you'll know your money is going to a good cause. Plus, you get Patreon exclusive dev updates. If you can't afford Patreon, that's okay. Help spread the word about the Prehistoric Kingdom Patreon. If you have some money but can't afford a monthly subscription, look into buying their book or the soundtrack. The Path of Titans developers recently got flack for releasing paid DLC for their unfinished game. The thing a lot of people don't understand is that Path of Titans is an online game and they need to fund the servers in addition to working on the game. How many years has the Isle been in early access? The only reason you don't see me talking about Path of Titans is because the genre isn't my cup of tea, but I am watching this game. This is the one time I wish my channel was bigger and I had more reach. But enough about that, let's see what the team is planning for this year. The big thing for Update 14 is Ontogeny. It'll be their first iteration. You can preview the growth of the slider in the hatchery and it'll grow from a baby to an adult in your park. Here's a video with sped up growth to show you the seamless mammoth growth. You can see there's no jarring model swapping. The different growth stages need animation too. You're seeing both the baby and juvenile Rex's walk animation. Their movement is more bouncy and cute compared to an 8 or 9 ton adult. I've lost count of the number of animals in the game by now. I hope you can appreciate the insane effort put into this. Each animal will have 4 different models and different animations for younger animals. Think about the amount of work. The devs are working on ontogeny first because things like sociality and combat will be a factor as well. Keep in mind ontogeny doesn't mean breeding. Ontogeny just means the animal will look different based on their growth stage. Breeding will come later. The different growth stages can also be used to change the models for sexual dimorphism. You're probably not going to see this on dinosaurs since we still don't have evidence for sexual dimorphism in dinosaurs. Or maybe the devs will use their creative liberties for dinosaur sexual dimorphism. We're also getting the much requested first person mode. They have gone above and beyond by letting you interact with binoculars, and in later updates, you can do management tasks. Just imagine building your dream park and then sharing your save online for others to tour your park. Now imagine touring in VR. The VR thing is just something I dreamed up, it's not confirmed. But who knows, if they have the budget, anything is possible. Now for future updates, I assume all of these are coming in 2025. For sociality and herding, you can expect animals to interact and respond to each other. Animals will compete to become the leader of the herd or act aggressively to defend their territory. They'll communicate with each other or run from danger. Animals will change ranks too. Imagine a young Triceratops reaching adulthood and challenging the current leader of the herd. This is an example of how ontogeny will be a factor in sociality. Animals will also form mixed herds too. Smaller animals will hang with bigger animals while forming their own herds. Social animation is just a special animation created for social interactions. Think the Carnotaurus dance in Prehistoric Planet. That's not in the plans due to budget and the technology not working well with their ontogenetic models. They're focusing on the AI instead. Combat also won't have cinematic takedowns like you see in Jurassic World Evolution. Instead, it's going to be dynamic with additive animations. Animals will injure each other with bites and horn stabs. The team doesn't have the manpower to make hundreds of cinematic animations. Instead, using dynamic animation will mean no two fights will look the same. This is just my interpretation of how dynamic animation will work. Imagine two tyrannosaurs doing face biting. One tyrannosaur bites and holds onto the other's face. The one bitten wiggles 3 times and breaks free of the hold. However, if the same battle happens again, it might be wiggling 5 or 6 times and still can't break free. This will make the animation unpredictable. Again, this is just my guess on how it'll work. This is a combat test animation. It's not polished or finalized. Next up, Paleobotany. The game will have 30 species of extinct plants spread across 8 biomes. The plants will also have their own dig sites. Compatible plants will add to enrichment and boost animal ratings. They're working with scientific illustrator and author Tom Parker, who also worked on Saurian. This will be the first time many of these plants are recreated in 3D. To be the first to reconstruct extinct life in 3D is not something to sneeze at. I wonder if Cretaceous and Jurassic ginkgo fruits smell as bad as modern ginkgo. I heard they were redoing the aviary and I wondered how they could improve it. To me, it was perfect. I take that back. This is perfect. It's now a terrarium. It'll house animals that are too small or have unique locomotion. You'll have 3 configurations which include amphibious, arboreal, and terrestrial animals. You can even pick between small or large terrariums. They also want to make it even more flexible for you to customize. You'll need to set up the correct substrate, climate, and enrichment. Keepers will have to feed and clean terrariums to keep the animals happy and healthy. A dirty terrarium will lead to disease once disease is implemented. I wonder what kind of animals will be in the Oh, there you go. I thought they were gonna hold out on us. So we're getting even more animals than originally promised. We're getting Compsognathus, Tiktaalik, and Yichi. I'm guessing there'll be more terrarium animals in the future. Finally, we have flat rides. They're basically attractions for guests to enjoy outside of watching the animals. These images are just concepts. They're considering Ferris wheel, theater, and hot air balloons, but they're open to suggestions. I feel like transportation would be more important. I hope transportation will be added someday. Yeah, so that's it for this month's Dev Diaries. The devs are hard at work on so many amazing things, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to help with Patreon. If you don't have the money, help spread the word. The project is not going to be abandoned due to the lack of funds as some claim online. The devs are willing to take pay cuts and staggered payments to keep it going. Patreon can help prevent that. Here's a fun fact. The original Kickstarter for this game had an aviary stretch goal. They never hit that stretch goal. The game launched into early access with an aviary. According to the devs, if they can hit 10k monthly, they can spend more. We're almost halfway there. Regardless, any money will help immensely.